Hello, today we are in Revelation chapter 6. We're going to be covering the first four seals, and it's going to be Revelations chapter 6 verses 1 through 8. But first, I want to cover this story on aliens in Las Vegas, and here's the clip. Here we have footage from the police officer of the UFO going through the sky.
There's
like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot. 9 feet, 10 foot, I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Okay.
In Matthew chapter 24, verse 37, Jesus made this prophecy. He said, "And as it was in the days of Noah, so it shall be at the coming of the Son of Man." You have to go to Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. There were the Nephilim, or giants, in the earth in those days. And afterwards, with the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare them children. What happened in Vegas is nothing more but Bible prophecy and fulfillment. Check out this clip on the Nephilim.
The Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Phoenicians, the Hebrews, the Indians, the Chinese, Japanese, and Tibetans, the Greeks, the Romans, the Inca, Aztec, and Maya, as well as hundreds of other cultures besides, all record in song, verse, sacred script, and oral tradition a time long ago when the gods descended from heaven to dwell among men and mingle their seed with the human race until a great cataclysm destroyed their world. Many of these ancient records also prophesy a time when the gods will return to resurrect their empire and reinsert themselves into the human genome.
And now we go into the book of Revelations. We're going to be covering the first four seals, which are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Revelations chapter 6, verses 1 through 8.
Revelation chapter 6. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth.
Now, just for the record, there are 7 seals. In chapter 6, 6 of the seals are covered, but we are going to cover the first 4 seals, which are the 4 horsemen. In Revelations chapter 6, verses 1 through 2, it's the first seal. It's a white horse with a bow who was victorious. The bow in the Old Testament represents oppression of God's people. This alludes to the coming persecution of God's people. The bow also represents military power of conquest. The rider on the white horse is similar to Jesus at his second coming in Revelation 19. I'll explain. In Revelation chapter 6, verses 1 through 2, the white horse rider has one crown and a bow. In Revelation chapter 19, verses 11 through 16, Jesus is the rider on the white horse. He has many crowns and a sword. It's believed that the rider on the white horse in Revelation chapter 6, verses 1 and 2 is the Antichrist. Speaking of the Antichrist, in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, it says, "He will make a covenant with many for 1 week." That means 7 years. And in the middle of that, he's going to cut it short. Daniel 11, verse 21, "Then there will arise in his place a despicable person to whom the royal honor has not been rightfully conferred. He will come on the scene in a time of prosperity and will seize the kingdom through deceit. His triumph will be diplomatic, a bow without the arrow." In Revelations chapter 13, verses 3 through 4, it says, "One of the beast's heads appeared to have been killed, but the lethal wound had been healed, and the whole world followed the beast in amazement. They worshipped the dragon because he had given ruling authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast too, saying, 'Who is like the beast, and who is able to make war against him?'" This Antichrist will usher in an era of false peace and prosperity that will not last long. But during this time, he will demand global admiration and to be worshipped. Daniel 9:27, "He will make a covenant with many for 1 week." That means 7 years. And that in the middle of this time, 3.5 years, he will suspend all the temple activity. That's what it means when it says he will suspend both the sacrifice and the grain offerings in Daniel 9:27. Now look what the Apostle Paul said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. "Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day will not arrive until the rebellion comes and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction. He opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, and as a result, he takes his seat in God's temple, displaying himself as God." Now we go to the second seal, Revelations chapter 6, verses 3 and 4. Here we have the red horse and its war and bloodshed. These are divine judgments against the wickedness of mankind. Look what it says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Do not let anyone deceive you in any way. That day will not happen until certain things take place first. There will be a time when many people will turn against God completely, a great falling away. Also, before that day, people will see the man who completely refuses to obey God. He is the man that God will destroy." Now, what I'm going to say is off the record, but it crossed my mind in regards to the white horse, the system, so to speak. For example, the United States and the United Nations tend to wage war from a diplomatic and peaceful missions. For example, the Iraq War was over weapons of mass destruction. The Afghan War, America called it the War on Terror. Also, both the US and the UN use diplomatic efforts in many parts of the world. They assist many nations by giving them financial assistance. In doing this, they gain their trust and leverage over them. But when the Antichrist comes on the world scene, he's going to do all this stuff, but on steroids, like nothing ever seen before. Again, we're off script, but it crossed my mind. Like the red horse, for instance, it reminds me of Russia in the Ukraine war. Some experts said early on when the war started, and I quote, "In 6 months, Russia will run out of weapons." And that was a quote, but nothing can be further from the truth. If anything, Russia has been bringing out better equipment. Not long ago, Russia damaged the American missile defense system called the Patriot system. Russia right now is the unstoppable war machine. President Vladimir Putin said Russia is fighting the whole world in Ukraine and winning. Again, this is off script, but it did cross my mind because of the parallels. And now, back to the third horse, the black horse, with the scales. In Revelations chapter 6, verses 5 through 6, food, the wheat and barley becoming more expensive, the result of war. Economies are affected. So nations must look for alternatives, making the prices go up. This is the result of the red horse, war horse-like actions. An example from the Ukraine-Russian war, certain minerals are exported from Ukraine. The war made an interruption in these exports, so companies have to scramble to fill in the blank. Because of the second horse, the red war horse, it will create hunger, and that's the third horse. And now we go on to the fourth horse. Revelations chapter 6, verses 7 through 8. Here's the best quote of this passage from this movie.
Revelations. Behold, a pale horse. The man who sat on him was death, and hell followed with him.
And I'll finish it. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, with hunger, and with death, and with beasts of the earth. Mind you, this is God's divine judgment upon evil men, people who turn their backs on God. Again, in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, it says, "Not let anyone deceive you. That day will not come until certain things happen first. There will be a time of great falling away." Look at what it says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 9 through 12. The coming of the lawless one will be accompanied by the power of Satan. He will use every kind of power, including miraculous signs, lying wonders, and every type of evil to deceive those who are dying, those who refuse to love the truth that would save them. For this reason, God will send them a powerful delusion to believe the lie. Then all who have not believed the truth, but have taken pleasure in evil, will be condemned. You must keep in mind that the book of Revelations is a series of judgments. God cleansing the earth of evil people, getting it ready for the messianic reign of Christ. We're going to stop right here, but we will continue in the book of Revelation.